welcome to Toastmaster Time, the show that's got everybody talking. My name is James Jeffley, and I'm excited to be the host for this edition of Toastmaster Time. Just like in a regular Toastmasters Club meeting, we're going to have prepared speeches with wonderful speakers, followed by an evaluation from our very own veteran evaluator, Adrian Jefferson Chofor. Adrian, welcome back to Toastmaster Time.
Hello there, James. We have a great show for you today, a great lineup from the Heart to Heart Club out of Oakland. James, I believe that's your club.
It is.
That's right. We have 3 speakers for you. First, we have Seema Giri, Carolyn CJ Jones, and Cynthia Stott. 3 dynamic speakers, so you're in for a great show.
Well, I'm looking forward to hearing their speeches and your evaluation. Right now, I'd like to bring our first speaker to the desk. Please welcome, I believe in her very first Toastmaster Time TV appearance, Seema Giri. Seema, welcome to Toastmaster Time.
Thank you so much.
Now, this is your first appearance on the show, yes?
My first appearance.
You having fun yet?
I am.
Now, how long have you been in Toastmasters?
I am brand new, James. I have just started in April.
You have that new Toastmaster smell. In April?
April 7th was my first meeting.
Wow, and how was that?
It was wonderful. I spoke and I grew, and it was perfect.
Great. So what made you want to join Toastmasters?
I have done training for a long time, and now I'm doing a different kind of speaking, more public speaking, motivational, inspirational. And I wanted to go to the best place to grow myself even more. And what better can you do than Toastmasters?
And heart to heart.
And heart to heart, exactly.
Are you ready to give your speech?
I sure am.
I'll give you a moment to prepare, and while you do that, I'll tell our audience a little bit more about Toastmasters.
Great, thank you.
Great. Toastmasters is an international organization that helps people overcome their anxiety around public speaking, develop better platform skills, as well as leadership skills. When you join a club, you can choose one of several pathways to focus on everything from coaching skills to presentation mastery to giving a technical talk. Tonight, Seema Giri is going to be working from the pathway presentation mastery, and her focus will be on receiving evaluation and feedback. Seema Giri will share her journey of conquering autoimmune disease from being bedridden to living a full, vibrant life, which includes her family, community, and being an entrepreneur. Today, Seema empowers women with autoimmune disease to break free from their pain cycle and to live their life's purpose. Her story will inspire you to take that next key step today to start living the life that you deserve and desire. Break free from your pain cycle, Seema Giri. Seema Giri, break free from your pain cycle.
I had lunch with a friend that I had not seen for 10 years. She couldn't believe that my company had trained over 100,000 people through my project management business, and that I personally had coached and mentored more than 250 people on wellness and stress management. And now to have the honor of co-authoring a book with 3 of the New York Times best-selling author, Dr. John Gray, Marcy Shimoff, and Raymond Aaron. She said, "I can't believe your transformation. It's beyond my wildest imagination." Wow. I knew I had progressed, but I didn't realize that I had transformed. Aren't old friends great? They show you how much you've grown. She knew me back when I was on 25 medications, in chronic pain, and lived a confined and isolated life. Even my friends had stopped calling me and including me in any activities because I would cancel most of the time. But the time that broke me, the time that I said no more to this life, was a time when I was bedridden for several months. And I couldn't even pick up my infant son. I so longed to hold him near my heart and to even nurse him. Then one day, I put my hand on his tiny body and I made a promise to him and to myself. You will have the mother that you deserve, and you will have a normal life. Today, I empower people suffering from autoimmune disease to break free from their pain cycle by bridging the gap between the doctor's care and mind-body-spirit holistic practice, to create a recovery plan that is personalized and that works for them. If you're struggling with autoimmune disease, when is your turn going to be to say no more to your pain cycle and to take charge of your own health? If you or someone you know are sick and tired of living a confined life and being controlled by their pain and living life on the sidelines, then you need to hear Susan's story and how she started her healing journey. Susan is a client of mine. She was a fast action taker and invested in herself in my program called Take Charge of Your Health Blueprint. Susan was in chronic pain for over 9 years. She was lethargic, she was exhausted, and she felt that she was stuck. In this program, she learned how to nourish and energize her mind, body, and soul. She learned to create simple systems that gave her structure. And she learned to her resentment and emotional hurt. And we integrated spirituality throughout all this based on her faith to create her personalized care. And in less than 60 days of focusing on her plan and living consciously, Susan was able to gain more energy. She started losing weight. She started losing inflammation. She was going to work consistently, and she started going out with her friends. Susan was now enjoying life again. So what was the most important part for Susan? Susan had the courage to say yes to herself, the courage to say no more to this lifestyle, and the courage to make herself a priority. Have you ever put yourself at the very bottom of the list and put everyone else's needs first? Yeah, we've all done that. As Lao Tzu says, the journey of 1,000 miles begins with one single step. So my question to you is, what is your next step going to be to create the life that you want and to create the life that you deserve? Thank you.
Wow, what a really powerful message, very inspiring, and I especially like the part about courage. I think courage is the tipping point to get you to the next level of whatever it is you want in life. What did you think about Seema's speech, Adrian?
I thought it was very powerful.
Mm-hmm.
One of the reasons I thought it was very powerful was the fact that she showed vulnerability.
Mm-hmm.
To be a motivational speaker, you have to connect with your audience in a way that is showing you opening your heart.
Right.
And she showed that, especially when she shared a personal experience. And then she supported her point by talking about one of her clients and how she helped them. I spoke with Seema before the taping, and she shared with me some of the things that she was working on. She was working on body movement, also vocal variety. And I saw a lot of that, how she moved around in the space. She was very comfortable. Although a new Toastmaster, she's an experienced speaker. Mm-hmm. And she captivated my attention. I found her compelling, and I just couldn't stop listening to what she had to say. A powerful message. What would you like to add, James?
I would add a couple of points. One, that Toastmasters is not just for beginning speakers. There are a lot of people who have great platform skill but want to hone and refine some of those skills, and Toastmasters is a wonderful place for that, as evidenced by Seema's speech and skill. And another point about the ability to take charge in your life and to focus on what you really want. And I think her story and telling the story of her client were very powerful and inspirational. Speaking of powerful and inspirational, I'd like to invite another heart-to-heart Toastmaster here to the show, Carolyn CJ Jones. Carolyn, how are you?
Great, James.
Good to see you, CJ. So how long have you been in Toastmasters?
3 years.
3 years. And what would you say is your biggest lesson so far in Toastmasters?
To use the pause to my benefit. And it works.
It does.
Yes.
There's nothing like a well-placed pause.
Very true.
That may not have been an example, but we could work on that. So you're going to talk today about the art of forgiveness,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
And you're going to share a personal story about that too, your own transformation.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Okay.
And how I stumbled upon forgiveness.
Had you tried some other things to work through issues in your life?
No.
Okay.
No.
But you just happened to stumble on
I
that,
just stumbled on it.
and that worked for you.
It worked.
Okay. Well, you ready to tell our audience about your story?
I sure am.
I'll give you a moment to get prepared, and while you do that, I'll tell them a little bit more about Toastmasters.
Okay.
Thank you, CJ.
Mm-hmm.
Toastmasters is a global organization that helps people overcome their anxiety about public speaking, improve their platform and speaking skills, as well as their leadership skills. We have about 16,000 clubs in 142 countries around the planet, and we serve the needs of about 350,000 members. So whatever it is you want to work on, chances are there's a Toastmasters club near you. Carolyn CJ Jones is going to speak on the art of forgiveness. She shares her journey from a negative, bitter person to a person filled with gratitude and positivity. The way this occurred brings out a story that will warm your heart and give you a way to create the art of forgiveness in your own life. The art of forgiveness, Carolyn CJ Jones. Carolyn CJ Jones, the art of forgiveness.
Before I got sober, I was a pretty negative person. I didn't appreciate my life. I couldn't be grateful for anything. Fast forward to current day, where I live in a state of gratitude and positivity. Whoa, how in the world did that happen? How did I go from this angry, bitter, blaming victim, drinking and drugging for 30 years, all over my upbringing, to a place where I feel great peace, and I am free from resentment? It's a little bit of a story, and I'd like to share it with you. Come back in time with me to my upbringing. When I was growing up, I had a difficult background, a difficult childhood. There was a lot of verbal, emotional, and physical discipline that crossed a line. My first time away from this environment was when I went to college. Senior year, I got a Valentine from my fiance who was going to another school. Oh, what does it say? He married somebody else. Oh, I was devastated, unconsolable. Finally, my roommates were so desperate that they took me out to get me drunk. That changed the course of my life. It started 30 years of drinking and drugging, and 20 of those years I was married to another alcoholic. We had some great times, but it was a toxic and volatile relationship, and it just didn't feed my soul. The marriage crumbled when I left because I fell in love with another man who I thought was my soulmate. I felt that so strongly. He didn't reciprocate. Oh, again, I was devastated. I became a shattered hull of a being, only able to drink and cry for 2 months. I couldn't even feed myself. Finally, knowing I needed help, I prayed. Before long, it wasn't 6 weeks before I was a sober person. Wow. And 4 years into it, I discovered a way to forgive my parents. I'd like to share with you how that happened. I was doing a self-appraisal one day, looking at the ways in which my behavior had led to the demise of the relationships with the men in my life. And what I realized was I used to get drunk and yell and scream at them, "You're worthless! You'll never amount to anything!" Oh, I was horrified to remember this, especially because I didn't even mean it about them. I meant it about myself. I had an aha, and that aha was this. It stood to reason, and it was logical that all those years my father called me worthless and said I would never amount to anything. He meant it about himself, not about me. This was life-changing. Suddenly, I saw him as a wounded human being, a fellow human being, and I felt compassion for those wounds because I knew what they felt like. The next year, I held my mother and my father in compassion until after that year, forgiveness flowed in. I had opened my heart with compassion, and forgiveness flowed in. I can't tell you how peaceful and freeing that place of forgiveness was and is. I can tell you that if you're having trouble with a resentment, then I recommend and invite you to try 4 steps. The first step, examine your behavior in the situation and then own it. Step 2, consider that your offender is a wounded person because hurt people hurt others in the same ways they were hurt. 3, have compassion for that person's wounds. And 4, receive forgiveness when it flows into your heart. If you do those 4 things, then you will find yourself living in the art of forgiveness. Thank you.
Wow, another powerful speech. You know, Carolyn was working from the Competent Communication Manual, and her project was number 5, Your Body Speaks, and she was supposed to work on stance, movement, gestures, facial expressions, eye contact to help get her message across. How well did she achieve those objectives, Adrian?
Nailed it.
Nailed it.
She nailed it. She used the space, all of the space. There's not much space here in the studio, and she used all of it so well. I have to say, she is such a great storyteller. I was enraptured. I just couldn't take my eyes off of her. I want to hear every single word that she said when she shared her story. Also, I like the fact that she added steps to show how we can practice the art of forgiveness and how practicing the art of forgiveness, how it helped her. So yes, gestures, facial expressions, she did very well in that area. I would commend her for that. And also for the use of space. I really enjoyed her message. How about you, James?
Yeah, so did I, and I appreciated the personal touch where she shared a very personal story about her own struggles with alcohol and abuse, and how she was able to, how that showed up in her life later, and how she was able to turn all of that around through forgiveness. So we talk about real things here in Toastmasters. Speaking of real things, here's one of the realest people I know. Welcoming back to the show, Cynthia Stott.
Thank you.
How are you, Cynthia?
Great to be here.
Good to see you.
Heart to heart.
Heart to heart. So you've been a Toastmaster now for how long?
Since 2007.
Since 2007. And what would you say has been your biggest aha in Toastmasters?
It's the power of overcoming fear. I wanted to join Toastmasters in 1994, but it took me 13 years to set one foot, even as a guest.
To even get to a meeting.
Even to get to a meeting.
Wow. And then what was it like at that first meeting?
I had a table topics for 1 minute, 36 seconds with 22 ums and ahs. I won the contest.
Oh, yay, yay. And the award for most ums and ahs goes too. And how are you now?
Pretty good. You'll see today, hopefully.
I know you're good. You've won a number of contests and awards, and you're just an outstanding speaker and a great leader in the club.
Thank you.
You ready to give your speech?
I am.
I'll give you a moment to set up, and I'll tell our audience a little bit more about Toastmasters.
Thank you.
When you join Toastmasters, you're able to choose a pathway where you can work on a variety of things. Whether you're a new speaker trying to overcome your fear and anxiety about speaking, or you're a more experienced speaker and you want to work on specific things like technical presentations or humor or storytelling, there's a path for you. Today, Cynthia Stott is going to work from the Competent Communication book, and it's project number 2, Organize Your Speech. So one of the things you also learn in Toastmasters is how to create a strong, powerful organization structure for your message. Her objectives are to select an appropriate outline, make the message clear with supporting material, and to use appropriate transitions moving from one idea to another. Calling all experts with a message to share. Find out how to go global with the 3 keys to take you from local expert to global influencer. Global visibility and influence, Cynthia Stott. Cynthia Stott, global visibility and influence.
Are you ready with a message? Do you have a message you want to share with the world? And are you a best kept secret? Do you want to know how to go from local expert, where you could wallpaper the walls with all of your certifications and trainings and knowledge and experience, to global influencer and thought leader, so that you can really impact the world with your message, with your people? Speaking of your people, I believe your people are waiting for you. In fact, it's 2 sides to a coin. If you have a calling on your heart, on the other side of that coin are people who are calling to you. They want to have your message, your gift, and yes, even your wounds. They want to know they're not alone. They want to know that you can extend your hand to them and offer them a safe way to come on board. So there's 3 keys to going global. Number 1, what I'm doing right here, speaking. Speaking is so powerful. In fact, I helped one of my clients to go from not even breaking even on her events that she held to making over $120,000 in one weekend, because she was able to share her message with her people and invite them in. Key number 2, programs. She had programs to offer those people, especially online programs that they could study at home on their own pace and not have to commute. And 3rd, social media. Such a powerful tool. You know, I talked with James about being afraid of speaking and taking 13 years to set one foot in Toastmasters. Not quite so long for social media, but 5 years it took me to get onto Facebook. In fact, I almost lost one of my best friends because every time I asked about her vacations or what she was up to, what her kids were up to, she said, "Check my Facebook." And I said, "But I don't want to be on Facebook." And she said, "Well, I'm not going to spend the time telling you. I've got great pictures there. Go check it out for yourself." 2012, I have a message. I have a free call that I'm offering. I have 48 hours to share on Facebook because there were so many technology issues going on. And in those 48 hours, 50 people, 1 hour, signed up from 6 countries. Shocked. How did I do that? I had to actually figure out, how did I do that? Have you ever done something where you just do it, and boom, it's there. It's inspired. Well, then I was working on Twitter. Also terrified of it, didn't want to get onto it, but someone said, if you come on Twitter, I will retweet you to my 50,000 followers. I was like, okay, I'll put one step in and I will ask my VA to do the tweet for me because I don't want to do it myself. Fast forward, I'm supporting other clients to retweet, but I only have 732 followers. And then I became willing to really connect with my followers, to engage with them, to follow them back. And that's when I went from 732 to 20,000 followers in a little over a year. What was the difference? I was willing to connect with them. I was willing to engage with them. I was willing to serve them. What I found for myself and my clients is that inner fear and doubt and worry that prevent us from stepping up and speaking our greatest message, that prevent us from sharing our deepest emotions and experiences. And so I work on the inner work because we have to be willing in order to serve our people, because you must be seen in order to be paid. It's one thing to speak your message. It's a little harder to speak your message if it's coming from your heart and soul. But the hardest thing is to speak your message and make an offer. I consider an offer like you're standing on a boat and you're the captain of the ship, and you extend your hand so that your client, your ideal client, can take your hand and come aboard safely. It's not about grabbing them by the scruff of the neck and throwing them in the boat, because then they mutiny. It's about extending that hand. Your people are waiting for you. In fact, they're praying for you, for someone with your unique gifts and talents and willingness to serve them. The question is, are you ready? Where do you want to go from here? Thank you.
Wow, another powerful speech.
Your club, James.
My club, right? We know how to do
yes, I think I have to become a member of this club. I want to get in on it.
They'll sign you up right now.
I know. That's true.
Right.
Let's talk about this speech, can we?
Let's. So what did you think of Cynthia's speech?
Cynthia always has these speeches that are not only informative, but they are from the heart. And she says, oh, it's very difficult to speak from the heart. But she does it time and time again. She makes it look so effortless. That's why I couldn't believe when she said that she had all the ahs and ums before, because she's such a great speaker. And the way she just connects, and that's with the camera.
Yeah, and I think for me this is all about transformation. And so at some point you go from doing to just being. And that's what all of these speakers were showing tonight. You know, John F. Kennedy said the only reason to give a speech is to change the world. And each one of them talked about changing the world, whether it was Seema's speech on breaking the pain cycle, or CJ's speech on forgiveness and transforming her life, and Cynthia about going from local to being a global influencer. They're all working to not only change and transform themselves, but to help others do the same thing.
Global impact.
Right.
Yes, it was very powerful.
And I think in terms of her objectives for this particular project, which is really to work on organizing the speech, it was clear going from one step to the next. Right. Well, it's been a great show. It's been a pleasure working with you again.
Likewise.
And it's time to wrap up and say goodbye.
Okay.
Toastmaster Time is brought to you by the good folks at Toastmasters District 57 here in Northern California. If you want to learn more about the show, you can visit us on the web at toastmastertime.com. To learn more about Toastmasters District 57, go to d57tm.org. And if you want to find a Toastmasters Club near you and begin your journey, you can visit us on the web at www.toastmasters.org. On behalf of our evaluator, Adrian, Jefferson, Chofor, our speakers, Seema Giri, Carolyn CJ Jones, and Cynthia Stott, and all of the wonderful volunteers here at the Media Center in Palo Alto. I'm James Jeffley saying thank you and good night. Peace out.